Everyone, this is Thomas Demol from stockpotnewbornphotography.co.uk. Today I'm going to show you how I can edit a newborn photography in 5 minutes. So for this I start in Lightroom. I like to do a general editing on Lightroom and then go into more details into Photoshop. So once I've met my clients, they've chosen the photos that they wanted. What I do is my general editing. So the way I like to do newborns is very not contrasty photos. So for this, I need to lift up the shadows, make a very soft looking skin on the baby. So for this, what I'll do is I'll brighten the photo a tiny bit to start with, and then I will reduce the contrast a lot on the photo. So I can do this by changing the slider on the contrast, but I can do it as well even more underneath by lifting up the shadows here, like this, for example. Push it a tiny bit more. I will increase the blacks as well to make them brighter and decrease the white, like this, and the highlights as well, because it's a bit too much, like this. Perfect. And I will, at the moment it looks a bit dull, so I will increase a tiny bit here on the curve to make it pop out a tiny bit more. Once I've done this, because all these photos underneath are taken on the same background with the same lighting, I can synchronize my settings to the rest of these photos, apart from the portrait photos with the parents, obviously. Then what I do is I've created a preset in Lightroom to export and stack. So what I was going to do is going to export that photo in the same folder with in high resolution in JPEG. I don't like to go in here, edit in, and go to Photoshop, because it will only give you the possibility to save as a Photoshop file or TIFF, which creates massive files and fill up your hard drives. So once I've got this, my photo should be here like this. The only thing, it doesn't flag up the photo, so we'll flag it, and then I'll right click, show in Finder, and I've got my file like this. So what I'll do is I'll do 5 at a time, export 5, and then drag the 5 files into Photoshop like this. So here's my photo, and then what I'll do is I'll grab my pen and my tablet because it's easier to work with. That's it. And I'm going to start by duplicating my layer first. I will select this part here that looks clean because I want to hide the finger. So Command C and then Command V, and then I hold Command and drag this layer on top here, and then I'm going to do Command T to transform, adjust. Sometimes I like to lower the opacity so I can see where I'm going with this, and then you can click on the wrap tool here and adjust here so it fills up the shape, and then higher the opacity, and then you can create a mask. Then brush, you can hold Control and Alt, and then you can increase easily your brush, and then I'm going to blend this in a bit like this. Perfect. So once I've got this part done, I like to flatten these 2 layers, merge layers. So I have one like this, and then what I'm going to do is to select the rest of the hand, and then you can either edit and fill, or if you know your shortcuts is Tab and F5. Okay, and magic, we're nearly there. So I'm going to grab the pattern tool and then grab and fill exactly what I've done here. Good. The next thing I like to do is all the spots. So spot healing brush tool on the right, and then I'll zoom in, and then I will start spot clearing here. So here you go. Sometimes you need to use the pattern tool instead. So for example here, the spot healing tool creates a weird shape, so I'm going to cancel this and then patch tool. That's it, that's better. Yep, I can zoom out a bit. That's hair as well. That's what the patch tool is good for. Crusty eyes. That's it. A bit more. I think that's looking good already. I like to move the hair as well, usually coming from the background. And then in this case, this little one had crusty hands, so I'm going to sort this out as well. So if it doesn't work, sometimes if you're too close from, you need to zoom right in. That's it, we're getting there. I like to do most of the things, but I also like to keep a tiny bit so that it looks realistic as well. I do not like to have a baby looking like a doll and have very smooth skin, which I think is always a little bit over the top. So here as well, here, this one, there, that's a hair from the material. Here we might need to go a bit like this, and then again like this to keep that line. There you go. This one here, just a tiny bit here as well. Using the patch tool, if you copy things, you need to make sure you copy where there is. So for example here I'm on the line of the nail and I need to copy where the line is, so we're keeping that in. A bit more here on the hand. That's it. And then again around here. Let's see that. That's looking good already. Tiny bit more on the fingers here. So zoom right in. This here, that white bit, flaky skin. This one usually got a really good skin, but usually it happens a lot on the hands and feet. Or if the baby's overused as well, usually they get very flaky skin. Good. That's it. So the next thing I have to do is a bit of background. Sometimes you get here, for example, you can see it's not quite the same. There's a tiny bit of brighter area, so we'll copy a part where it looks better, and here as well. or sometimes if there's a lot of it, I will blur the background, so duplicate my layer, blur the background, and then put a mask to make the baby reappear on that blurred background, but that's not necessary here. So what I'm going to do is to correct this red hand here. So what I'm going to do for this is to select the hand, and then you go here to the adjustment layers and hue and saturation. So then you want to choose the reds and boost your saturation to plus 100. So it's going to show you what is red here between these two sliders. So then I'm going to isolate the reds that I want. So by moving my sliders, you can see here it's reducing. So I'm going to isolate to the hand only. That's it, and put my saturation back to 0. And then after that, you modify the hue like this. So if I go extreme, obviously it goes from red to green or whatever. So, but if I am a bit more subtle and push to the right towards the cold area here, the hand looks a bit more blended in. That's it. So I think this is pretty good. I may do actually a second time just to blend it even more. Sometimes you have to do bits by bits. So adjustment layer, hue and saturation, then choose the reds, saturation to 100, and then isolate the hand. You can see where the reds, the hand starts getting red like this, then back to 0, and then push it. That's it, like this. Now I think that's pretty good. So I have a preset that I set up as an action. When I press F6, it will compress my layers, flatten, and save as a JPEG. So F6, and then if I go back into Photoshop and see my photo, sometimes you need to flip from library. That's it. Ta-da! Done. And then I can just collapse my stacks and export whatever I want to send to my clients. That's it. Thank you very much for watching.